Welcome inside our New York City studio for this edition of Tour Confidential on Golf.com. I'm Jessica Marksbury, joined today by Golf Magazine's Alan Bastable, Jeff Ritter, and Cameron Morfitt via Skype. Now, last week, we were pretty critical of Phil Mickelson's comments in the press conference following Team USA's loss in the Ryder Cup. He was critical of Tom Watson's captaincy. Since then, some new information has come to light. Tom Watson has penned an open letter online apologizing for the way he treated the team over the weekend. Now, Cameron, this brings an important decision to our table here. Which team are you on? Are you Team Phil or are you Team Tom?
I'm Team Phil here. I think Mickelson needed to say that, and I think he needed to say what he said just because the U.S. Ryder Cup effort is in total disarray. I think the players, rightfully so, are tired of getting sand kicked in their face every 2 years. It's just 8 out of 10 losses. That's just inexcusable. These two teams are not that far apart. You would think that they're, a high school team playing a JV team, but that's not the case at all. It's just the U.S. has been mismanaged from the top down, and it's time for that to change, and Phil was right to say that.
I, for one, was particularly critical of Phil Mickelson last week, and I have to say I stand by my comments. I still don't think it was appropriate for Phil to throw Tom under the bus, criticize him publicly in such a forum. However, what he said was correct. I just think it was not the time or the place for him to say it.
It's gotten so ugly, I just want it all to go away, frankly, I have a hard time siding with either guy, but, I still go back to December 2012 when Tom Watson was named Ryder Cup captain by Ted Bishop. We knew what we were going to get within reason. I think the players knew what they were going to get, and suddenly this came as this big surprise that Tom Watson wasn't this warm and cuddly guy who was going to coddle his players. We knew he was going to be a bit of a dictator. There was universal praise for that decision when Watson was named captain. And then, he obviously didn't win. The guys didn't like his style, but we knew what we were getting. So, all this hate for Watson, I don't really get it.
So you're Team Tom?
I guess I am by default. But
okay.
Like I said, I've kind of had enough of it, to be honest with you. But let's hear.
See, you surprised me because I am also Team Tom for the
Yeah.
exact reason that all he's done through this whole thing is he's just gone out and he was himself. You can't begrudge Watson for this mess. It was the PGA of America that picked him to be the captain. It's not his fault that his style didn't mesh with his team. He's not going to change. So it didn't work. So in that respect, I don't begrudge Watson for what happened here. I do think that Mickelson bringing this up in the form that he did is now creating change. And so I don't like seeing Watson under the bus. I don't like seeing him sort of having to feel like he needs to make this public apology. But I do think the team that I'm not on is Team PGA of America, because they're the ones that have botched this all the way through. And anything that leads to change from their side of things, I would be in favor of.
So all this drama, albeit inappropriate, will likely lead to some change in 2016.
Yeah, one would think we're definitely headed in that direction, but I think we're giving Mickelson too much credit. I think this, obviously it was a big story for Phil to speak up in such a public environment, but I think this all would have trickled out eventually anyway. I mean, look what happened this week. 4 unnamed sources come out and start dishing dirt on what happened that Saturday night. I think it would have trickled out. You think back to 2008, the European team had the same problem with Faldo, who was probably even worse captain. They made a pact not to say anything negative about Faldo, and 6 years later, nothing has come out. Even after Faldo calling Sergio useless on the air a couple weeks ago at the Ryder Cup, they still really nothing too bad has come out about Faldo. So I think this would have come out, and I think change was going to happen anyway.
I don't think we're done hearing about the U.S. team room yet. I think there's still going to be more stories about what went on that week in Glen Eagles. The one thing that I will say bodes well for change in 2016 is the PGA schedule that season. Because it's an Olympic year, you're going to have the PGA earlier in the summer, and so already the selection process for the captain's picks, it's almost going to force the PGA's hand to start doing that part of the process differently. So hopefully they can get the captain's pick right and go from there. But at least the schedule alone sets up for changes for the next Ryder Cup for the U.S.
And let's all agree the captain should not be Paul Azinger, because I'm already tired of him, and we're 2 years out.
He's a winner. He's the only one to win this century.
Yeah, but I'm so tired of the pod system. And listen, Davis Love could have easily been a winning captain. He just got screwed. His team was 4 points up in singles. They came back and lost.
Horrible collapse.
Yeah, that's certainly not Davis Love's fault. He would have been praised if it had gone the other direction.
Yeah.
I just don't think, Zinger cannot improve his reputation. There's no upside for him to take that
true.
job. He's the golden boy now. If he takes it and loses, he diminishes his reputation. If he takes it and wins, he's sort of status quo for Zinger.
Well, it appears we are a house divided in more ways than one. So Cameron, Jeff, Alan, thank you so much for your time. Make sure to let us know if you're Team Phil or Team Tom on Golf.com's Twitter and Facebook pages. And we'll see you right back here next week on Tour Confidential on Golf.com.